Federal authorities say a potential New Year's Eve terror attack was stopped just in time, and at the center of the case is Christian Sturdivant, an 18-year-old Burger King worker from Mint Hill, North Carolina. According to the Justice Department, Sturdivant is accused of planning a deadly attack at a grocery store and a fast food restaurant on New Year's Eve in support of ISIS. Prosecutors say he intended to use knives and hammers to carry out mass violence and aspired to die as a so-called martyr. Court documents reveal that Sturdivant had been on law enforcement's radar for years. Authorities say that as early as age 14, his own family intervened to stop him from carrying out a violent act. Despite that early warning, investigators say his fixation on extremist ideology only deepened over time. In December 2025, the FBI received information that Sturdivant was posting pro-ISIS content on social media, including imagery and language consistent with ISIS propaganda calling for violence against non-believers. Investigators allege that Sturdivant openly declared his loyalty to ISIS and described himself as a soldier of the state, referring to the terrorist group. Authorities say Sturdivant began communicating with an undercover online operative he believed was an ISIS member. In those messages, he allegedly stated, "I will do jihad soon," and sent images of weapons, knives and hammers, matching ISIS guidance for low-tech attacks in Western countries. Investigators say Sturdivant went further, identifying specific targets in North Carolina and discussing plans to acquire a firearm. Days later, he allegedly sent a voice recording pledging loyalty to ISIS. A search of his residence uncovered handwritten documents titled New Year's Attack 2026, outlining plans to stab as many civilians as possible, with a target number of more than 20 victims. The notes also described an intent to attack responding police officers to ensure his own death during the assault. Despite claims that a family member had secured weapons away from him, law enforcement recovered butcher knives, hammers, tactical gloves, and a vest hidden in his bedroom, along with a written list of targets. Federal officials say the case highlights how radicalization can take hold quietly, online, over years, and how coordinated law enforcement action prevented a mass casualty tragedy. Sturdivant remains in federal custody. If convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison, as investigators say a planned act of terror was stopped before lives were lost.
Happy New Year, and it is a Happy New Year, although it came very close to not being such a Happy New Year for a lot of people this year. I'm here to announce, in partnership with the Mint Hill Police Department and the FBI, that we have foiled a terrorist attack that was planned to take place on New Year's Eve in Mint Hill, North Carolina. Now, New Year's Eve, we all know, is a wonderful time where we all celebrate the past year, we look forward to and plan the next year, and everyone deserves to do that, to celebrate the new year without being concerned about their personal safety. And thanks to the law enforcement that stands with me today and others, we are fortunate that people can do that. The FBI, the Mint Hill Police Department, the New York Police Department worked around the clock on this matter, not just building a case for us, but surveilling the subject and making sure the public was safe at every moment, including Christmas Day. They worked around the clock on this, and I very much appreciate it. The defendant here lived in Mint Hill. The planned attack was to take place in Mint Hill. I want to thank Chief Joe Hatley of the Mint Hill Police Department for being with me here today and for your work over the holidays, Chief. I really appreciate it. I'm sure you know Jim Barnacle by now. He's the special agent in charge of the FBI for North Carolina. The FBI worked tirelessly on this case, and I can't thank you enough for that. FBI agents spent their Christmas Day surveilling a subject so that families in Charlotte and Mint Hill and Western North Carolina could spend their day celebrating with their families, and I'm very thankful for that. That is true public service. If you see a police officer or an FBI agent, please thank them for spending their holidays on this so that we all could spend our holidays with our families. I also want to thank the prosecutors in my office who also worked over the holidays getting a search warrant and an arrest warrant and making sure that the public was safe and that this terrorist attack was foiled. The defendant here is an 18-year-old named Christian Sturdivant. He has been planning this attack for about a year, but he's been planning an attack for far longer than that. He was planning this attack in support of ISIS, and we have charged him with attempting to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization, that organization being, of course, ISIS. Now, this is still very much an active investigation. We had to act quickly here to protect the public. So we are light on details, but we'll tell you as much as we can. And Mr. Barnacle will probably tell you more than I will about those charges, but I thought I would give you an overview of what's in the federal complaint and the charges that we charged. So Mr. Sturdivant started on the internet. He started reading ISIS material, started going to ISIS websites, making TikTok videos, and eventually reached out to what he thought was a member of ISIS. In reality, it was an undercover agent with NYPD in New York. He pledged his allegiance to ISIS with that undercover agent, and he disclosed his plans to, quote, do jihad soon. He then met a second undercover with the FBI, who he also thought was an ISIS participant, and he started to be very specific with his plans. He talked with that undercover agent, again, who he thought was ISIS. He talked about where he was planning to do this attack, which was at a grocery store and a fast food restaurant in Mint Hill, places that we go every day and don't think that we may be harmed. He talked about what means he would use to kill innocent people. He said he was going to wear a Kevlar vest and attack people with knives and hammers. And, of course, he talked about when he was going to carry out this attack, which was New Year's Eve, a time when American life is on full display, right? We're all out there in crowds celebrating all that has happened this year, all that is to come, that we are so proud of. And that is when he planned his attack to attack that American way of life. The FBI executed a search warrant at his home, and they found the instrumentalities of the attack. They found hammers and knives hidden under his bed. They found notes where he planned his attack and detailed his attack and plans for how he was going to carry out this attack. It was a very well-planned, thoughtful attack that he had planned and that was fortunately foiled here. He was preparing for jihad, and innocent people were going to die. And we're very, very fortunate they did not. But the fact that along the way, in this extensive planning of this attack, he encountered not one, but two undercover officers should make the public feel very, very good and very safe. Because law enforcement is out there every day, and we know they have a lot to do. But they have people out there making sure that as people plan these terrorist attacks, they have stops so they find it. And they did find it here. And on Christmas, while we were all opening presents, they were sitting in a driveway making sure that the public was safe. And we're very, very appreciative of that. Mr. Sturdivant was arrested on New Year's Eve, the day he planned his attack. Of course, it did not become public today. It has been under seal until today. He made his initial appearance in federal court this morning, about an hour ago, and this case is now moving through the judicial process. So he will have a preliminary hearing after that and a detention hearing, and of course we will seek that he remain detained, but that's up to a federal judge on that issue. He faces a statutory maximum sentence of 20 years. But as I always tell you, every individual defendant gets a sentencing hearing where a judge takes into account a host of factors under the United States sentencing guidelines. They look at that individual defendant. The judge, he or she, looks at that individual defendant and makes a decision on sentencing. So we don't know what the ultimate sentence will be here. Originally, I think it is notable, as part of their efforts, the FBI took Mr. Sturdivant to a state magistrate judge to try to have him involuntarily committed. And that was because he had threatened not only other people's lives, but in the process said that he planned to die by a policeman shooting him. So he had threatened other people's lives and self-harm, but the state magistrate judge denied involuntary commitment. Fortunately, the FBI did not give up then and continued to build a federal case and get the evidence they needed to charge him and detain him and keep everyone safe on New Year's Eve. And I'm very, very thankful for that because countless lives were saved here. On New Year's Eve, everyone is at the grocery store. We're all buying the things we need to celebrate, and we could have had a significant loss of life and significant injury here. So we will be here at the federal level dedicated to making sure the public is safe like we were in this case. And I know that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that's never public for investigative reasons, and it's very it brings me satisfaction to be able to tell the public what law enforcement is doing when you don't know it and what's going on behind the scenes to keep everyone safe.